Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United of the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host Mike, and with me today we have Neil and Alex. We had Rory and Alex, but Neil had already said before a month ago, and I didn't write it down. And then it was going to be Rory, Neil, and Alex, and then Rory's had to dash off, so now it's Alex and Neil. And we were just trying to work out what their kind of win-loss ratio is, because there was definitely one they lost, but it was a phantom one that didn't record. So, but never mind, it's fine. We've got Neil and Alex. We're going to carry on the discussion of the post-Christmas unbeaten run. Okay, I've been saying it all season. We're going to do well after Christmas, and I'm not saying I'm perfectly right, but I am perfectly right. And then we will look forward to the visit of West Brom kids and Eastleigh. Join the conversation, give us the likes, thumbs up, shares, retweets, blah, blah, blah. Thanks to everyone who does it. Alex, yourself, definitely on Instagram. Thank you very much. We're on all social medias at Sutton Podcast, and the comments, likes, and shares do help us reach a wider audience. So let's kick off. Pixelated Alex, congratulations. It's your 10th appearance.
Oh, is it?
It is. There is an exclusive badge that will come your way just as soon as I remember where I've put them. So don't hold your breath for it, but you will get one. Okay. And how long on this episode do you think it's going to take for you to mention your unbeaten streak?
I'm intending to that to be the first thing that I say.
Perfect. Go on in. Say it again now. Go on.
Well, you've thrown me under the bus there, Mike. Gosh. This is my fourth of the season, and it's 3 wins and a draw, so 10 points out of 12. But this one, actually going, a few of us went up to York for the weekend. A trip to pick.
Perfect. And Neil, a veteran by comparison, with I think it's number 23. And no, I haven't planned any gifts yet, but I'm sure I'll think of something. But how have you been, Neil?
I've been fine, and I'm still on location in York.
Are you?
You're still on
location. Neil's turning into a 4-day bender. We're going to dive in. So, Neil, you've had not much chance to think about this, but we're going to dive in for the knowing me, knowing you, and I'm going to remember to do the logo jingle this week. So, Alex, since you've had a bit more time to think about this,
have I?
Well, you got sent when I said yes, this is the game you're doing. So, if you didn't read that email, that's up to you. But what odd place have you managed to speak to someone about Sutton United?
Yeah, I did give this a bit of thought. I've been amongst my mates of bringing up Sutton wherever we are. So that is something that follows me around. I'm obviously keen to talk about the U's. I think the weirdest or the most unusual. I remember being went skiing and was at like an après ski bar and started our group, and there was a Bromley fan there, so started talking about Sutton there. So that was really in the Andorran Alps, if you can call them that. That's probably my weirdest place.
Perfect. And Neil, what odd place have you managed to talk to someone about Sutton United?
I'm going to do my usual. I've got 2. One was in Bulgaria, which unfortunately I was skiing when we played Arsenal in the FA Cup. And then these Bulgarians told me that there was a bar that showed the football. So I managed to beetle over there and find the bar populated with a whole load of Arsenal fans, who then, finding out I was a Sutton United fan, I never bought a beer all evening. They bought all of my beers, which was fabulous. And
Nice.
I was able to tell them all about Sutton United. So that was good. And then the other ones was with some mad Welshmen who between them supported Swansea, Cardiff and Newport, walking the Great Wall of China.
Okay.
And at that time, joking about how we would, they were saying, oh, well, Sutton would never be in the Football League. Ha, 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 ha. And why didn't I support a proper team? Well, of course, I had the last laugh there. We did make it into the Football League.
Yeah. I've always hated that. What proper team do you support?
Yeah.
I properly support something, thanks. Well, let us know your thoughts. What is the oddest place you've managed to speak to someone about Sutton United? Doesn't have to be abroad, it can be anywhere. But where is the oddest place? Moving on to club news. There is some breaking and exclusive news that some people may have already known, but it seems that Steve Morrison might have a little more knowledge than getting the best out of his players than I do. He demanded better from Jack Taylor, and I felt was a bit harsh. We'll talk about Jack in a mo. He said Will Davies, he was looking forward to him hitting 20 goals by the end of the season, and I thought that was a little bit too demanding. So, man who's played football at some very good levels knows a little bit more about football than someone who's paid to watch it for decades.
You're kidding.
Say again? I didn't hear. Sorry.
I said you're kidding.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Who knew? Who knew? People on the terraces don't know as much as people paid to do it. And also just a reminder, because there was some conversation in the little WhatsApp group, people didn't realise, it's a beer festival on the weekend. We're about to play Kidderminster, so it's the Friday and the Saturday. So obviously people are going to miss the Saturday, but it's Friday as well. So it's at the club. I'm sure more details will come out nearer the time, but give people a heads up. So Neil, we'll start with you. A few changes to the lineup, and personally, I was expecting it to be nice, compact, and keep it tight for the first 20 or so to weather the early storm. What were you expecting, and what did you think of the lineup?
The lineup was sort of as I expected, but I thought we'd see Jack Wadham back in his sort of number 10, playing that advanced midfield role. And as it turned out, he wasn't even in the squad. And then we had Alex playing the deeper midfield role, and then Lewis playing the sort of more advanced midfield role. And aside from that, it was the team as I expected, because it was virtually the team before. Surprised to see Jack back. So I wasn't sure whether he'd recovered from his head injury or whatever it was, but that was my feelings.
Fair enough. And what were your expectations of the game?
My expectations, hopeful we could win, but realistically thought we would lose.
Fair enough. And Alex, what about yourself? What was your thoughts on the lineup, and what were your expectations? I know you went up as a group to have a fun weekend, but
Yeah. We went up for the weekend thinking the weekend would be fun and the football would possibly be the worst bit of it. No, it wasn't optimistic going into the game. I thought Wednesday's performance, discussed it on the previous pod, but good in patches, but defensively looked a little bit shaky. Crosses that both of Wilson's goals came from. So I thought against a better side like you, and they came down to the VBS earlier in the season. I thought we'd been saw the lineup and saw that Eddie Vaz was back in. That caught me by surprise. He hasn't started in the league since November, I think it was. So to see him and then Bez just playing the left centre, potential for us to be a little bit vulnerable down that side. And I was sort of like Neil, or I think like you said, Mike, like a compact first 15, 20 minutes. And I thought the line, and actually that is what we got throughout the game. We were very compact, very disciplined, very good shape, but I thought would achieve that. And yet it did. So as you said, maybe Steve Morrison knows a bit more than
I have to say, I didn't expect Vaz to even be on the team sheet or in the squad. So, you know, that was a surprise.
Well, so we could do this in any order, but we'll start with Will. A brace and now 12 for the season against his old club. I think Aaron in the interview said something, but it wasn't kind of. I'm not sure Will understood it as Aaron meant it, but Will's worked so hard throughout the season, and he hasn't been getting the goals. He hasn't been getting his rewards, and we're now seeing him getting the rewards. Alex, you start with this one. What did you feel about Will's performance yesterday, and how pleased are you for him? I mean, I'm amazed. I mean, Steve said he lost his legs and had to come off, and he said that was the first time this season, which is true. The guy's played every minute. But you sort of give your love letter. Go on.
Oh, please let me. I think it was the last one, and you put a quote up on the social media. It might have something I said about his all discussion compared to him and Harry Smith, and his all-round game and how much he works for the team. Both referenced in terms of playing every minute and everything, and you did feel that there was more because he's clearly such a good finisher, but he wasn't necessarily getting the opportunities, partly because the team wasn't. Just both of his. What I liked yesterday is he did all the all-round stuff. He gets to play all of that. His goals were so clinical, but both so different. I think a massive positive sign for a centre forward, where you've got this predator to dart and flick the header on from the corner, which is a good skill in itself. We haven't scored many goals from corners this. You've got a second goal where there's the option to pass it back to Ashley, and he said, I'm not going to pass it back. I'm going to leather this in the top corner. And really, he was quite wide when he shot. Oh, why are you shooting from there? But I want my centre forward and my instinct that I'm going to shoot, I'm going to score. And I thought he was clinical, but in different ways. And it's just how much I think he had 6 goals in his last 6 games, and he's really flourishing. And he deserves it.
Yeah, that goal was. I mean, it was to the near side of the keeper again. A good keeper. I do like the way Nadas has said, "Oh, we've got another assist," and I'm like, I'm going to call that an assist. You literally tapped it to him to finish, but okay. But Neil,
I thought it hit the side netting at first.
Yeah, at first
because he was so wide. I thought it hit the goal, and then so I watched the highlights back, and there's a slight delay, and ever so slight delay in the crowd. I think a few of us had thought that it was the side netting, but no.
It was Neil, how was that for you? Will's performance in the whole game, but in those first sort of 20 odd minutes.
It was a proper centre forwards performance. A goal with his head, which was a superb header, something we haven't seen for ages. And looking back on it, I didn't quite appreciate how much he had to do for that second goal, because he had 2 defenders around him. He took it past them, and the finish was so fierce. The keeper just didn't have chance to react, and it was in the back of the net. And like Alex, where I was, I thought it had gone into the side netting.
Yeah, I mean, you can go a bit too far with these things, but it's the kind of goal you don't have a right to score. There's no way he should have scored that goal. And same as the goal he scored the other night as well. Is like all these good chances, and he then gets the ball, presses someone, and smashes it. And it's like, well, if we can do that, can we not just do that more often, please? But yeah, he said himself, it's the confidence. It's the confidence is now flowing. He feels he's going to score all the time. So yeah, God, who knows? He might hit that 20 goal mark. Sorry, Alex, you kind of cut out every now and then, but
sorry, I said, do you think it's our best goal of the season? Because case for the one that springs to mind for me is Naisden against Fylde.
Yeah,
there's long range, but that sat up really nicely, caught it well. I think the way that what Neil's described about how for this to get the chance, and then the finish itself. It's got to be in the conversation. Like, it's brilliant.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I know the one you're talking from Nadders. I think that will probably be considered more aesthetically pleasing. They just
stats up nicely though.
Yeah, that's the kind of goal that you sort of dream about. That you're sitting there and it's going, oh, it's all done it for me. But you know, you're dead right. It's a great goal.
It was a nice build up as well, because it was right back, straight down the line, knocked inside to Nadders, who then passed it to Will, who then did a heck of a lot with it and in the back of the net. So it was Route 1 football, but it was actually Route 1 football down the side, which is becoming more and more our thing.
Yeah, you're old enough to remember Glenn Hoddle. Not sure Alex does, but he used to say there's no long ball, short ball or long ball. There's the right ball or the wrong ball, because he used to just spray the ball around. But we had so many chances. Josh had 2 1-on-1s, and then from one of them, Finley the ball came right out to him, and he's like, he tried to react, but there was not a chance. I think Finley had another one later on. Nana had one that was probably too easy. I mean, that sounds silly. I know what I mean. It's like you get it and you're like, okay, this has gone in. What do I do now? What do I celebrate? Oh shit, I've missed it. I mean, do we get to say my Nana would have scored that? I don't know. Is that fair? But what I do know is Mike wouldn't have scored that. But Neil. Oh, and also the Topolov tackle.
Yeah.
So what I'm basically trying to say is I went with 5-2 last week. Okay, as my prediction. On another day, I could have got that right.
Yeah.
Everyone was calling me mental, but I could have got that right. But Neil, talk us through some of those chances, how you were feeling, and that amazing tackle as well, which is worth a goal.
The amazing tackle, I thought the ball was in the back of the net. I just don't know how he pulled off that tackle. It was immense.
And our ball, because he knocked it off him to win the goal kick as well.
The first Josh, when he was through, that was as equally a good tackle from the York defender, because he took it off Josh's foot, and Josh went to kick a ball that just wasn't there. So they were 2 outstanding bits of defending. Looking back at the Nana chance, he bent down to head it. He'd has actually been better kicking it. I don't think he'd have missed then.
Yeah.
But we should have been 3 up at half time, or even 4 up. And though there's a lot of abuse on the York forums, they're making that point.
Yeah.
That there were a lot of chances. They can't really complain that they've lost to a poor team as us.
They are anyway.
And masters of shithousery.
Yes, I've got that written down. Alex, go on, talk us through some of the chances and what you're feeling at the time and what you got after, and that tackle. Don't forget.
I think you can't score every chance. I think we need to work on it a bit. I think when it went through, I agree about the first tackle, the point that Neil made. The second one, that it's sort of almost, that was a good chance, and we missed that. And we played really well and ended up scoring and winning. But on another day, at the top of the league like York, you won't get many chances. And just in the context of those one-on-one ones that Dylan had against Wealdstone on Wednesday, one right at the start and one towards, that both hit straight at the goalkeeper. I do think there's some general finishing work in the squad, or Davies aside, obviously, for the reasons we just discussed. But I do think there's have created all those chances in this. We scored 4 goals across the 2 games in this week. It's not. I'm maybe being a bit harsh. I think if we want to get up to the where I'm going with it is that when it goes well and you get loads of chances and you take 30% of them, you'll win. But as we know, our inconsistency of performances in the National League generally, you don't always get loads of chances, and finish well enough so that when you're not playing well, you don't get as many chances, you take them. But we've scored 4 goals this week, including 2 away at York with a win. So
I mean, a couple of people have said is if you told us this week we'd end up with 4 points, would have taken that. You'd have expected it the other way around, but you definitely would have taken it.
Definitely.
So they did change their system. So they went with their sort of big 3 strikers for the first time. So fair play to our guys for kind of going, that's what they're going to do, because they hadn't done it before. How do you think? What did we do to stifle them, Alex? What? I mean, I know we were compact, but how do you kind of feel that we coped with them and what we did that other teams haven't been able to? I think only Boston has beaten there, and we frustrated.
I think it might be time to talk about Jack Taylor. I thought he was immense, absolutely fantastic. For one of, I'm going to say this a few times in this podcast. I'm on a bit of a high from the weekend, but that's one of the players I've had this season. I thought is complete, considering the fact that he's only recently come back into the team. Marshaled it on the ball, off the ball. I think he won. I can't remember him losing everything that we've been looking for in our centre backs this season. He did well for Alex Woodyard. Obviously, I'm biased. His name's Alex. I want him to do well. I'm sure he's going to be brilliant. I thought he fits into that role really nicely, and I think he and Finley allows, as Neil mentioned, allows Lewis to go further forward, which is really where he's at his best, attacking role rather than a deeper lying, tough tackling midfielder. And I thought, Alex is very good. Ball, right position, organising, good experience, head and his shoulder, sensible, smart play. That is exactly what you need. Generally tricky walk away. So I think a word for him, and as I say, a word for Jack.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the points that Steve made that I thought he was being a bit harsh. Do you think he did take the game by the scruff of the neck and said, "No, this is Jack's game"? Neil, what do you make of his performance? And
both Jack and Finley were immense. So all of those high-waged, high-priced prima donnas have been outplayed by 2 kids who both need notes from their mothers to be out on the school nights. So I think that says it all. I think that Pierce's wage, I think he's on $7,500 a week. That's probably what half our wage bill is for the entire squad. And he didn't get a look in because Jack just marked him out of the game, and he didn't miss a header. His heading was superb. He was confident on the ball. He did not look phased, and that was a big crowd that was right in your face because it's such a compact ground. It's very intimidating. He looked as if he'd been playing for seasons. He looks so mature for a 20-year-old.
I did.
Or is he 19 and Finley? Oh yeah, he's 19 and Finley's 20.
Right.
Yeah.
I did message him and said he best not put those shorts in the washing because he might want to check the back pocket for £350,000 because so you've named, I think almost every player on the pitch has been named so far as playing really, really well. We did concede. I mean, you're not going to play against a team that's doing that well and not concede. I think, stupidly and strangely, and obviously I wasn't there, but actually in the long run, conceding then could be better for us because we did have to hang on, hold the lead, see it out. Neil, what do you think? Obviously, at the time, your heart's in your mouth. We've always drawn 2-2 with them. But how were you feeling at the equaliser, and do you see that it could be a very good thing?
I didn't think it was a good thing at the time. And it was at that point Jenny and I were both predicting 6 minutes of added time, and we all know what's happened in that, and were we possibly going to concede in added time for the third game on the trot. Was it the third game on the trot? No, we didn't against Wealdstone. But yeah, no, third
We
time
have enough
ball
times
game.
though.
Yeah, but we did manage the game so much better, and we got a free kick. We took it down into the corner. We got very good at wasting time. Good game management, as I said. Hate it when the opposition do it, but when we do it, we do it so well. It's a joy, and they were getting so wound up. The crowd was getting wound up. The players were getting wound up, which probably explains half of the handbags after the match had finished. It was, but that was about the aftermath of them scoring made me very angry because of the way Jack was mugged by three of their forwards trying to get the ball in the back of the net. And he got quite injured by that. He was tied up in the net. They were stomping all over him to get hold of the ball. So I think that really was. And then the referee seemed to not even realise. Turned round and then realised he couldn't start the game again because our goalkeeper was still entangled in the net.
Well, I'm going to try and guess what Alex might say on that. But Alex, I think that was part of some of the game management that Neil was just talking about, because that break took away their momentum completely. Because we had to poor injured Jack had to be looked after and cuddled and everything. But what did you think about the late push and holding on? And then we're going to come on to the terrible scenes that no one.
Yeah, I think it's massive. We survived the stoppage time. You know, this has been a problem. Boxing Day, New Year's Day obviously spring to mind recent results where we've thrown 4 points away by not being able to hold on. So I think you're right, Mike. I think in the moment conceding the worst to coast at 2-0 and it to be a really comfortable end to the game. But in the next time we're defending a lead and there's 6 minutes of stoppage time goes up, we'll have this in the memory bank as to second in the league, arguably top of the league with their games in hand. You know, so to have that, I think will be huge for the players, and it was a real credit to them that they managed. And I think that fitted in with how they managed the game and how disciplined they were generally. So it may be really positive in the long run.
Right, and now let's talk about the things that nobody wants to see: the terrible return of shithousing Sutton. I mean, it's awful. So yeah, we managed the game out. We got that silly little nasty streak. We got that little things, and there was, I think, 3 moments. There was Sadat was tackled off the pitch, and that caused a little kerfuffle. Why the York players didn't just carry on while he was off the pitch and just point out it was off the pitch, I'm beyond. I don't understand. Then there was the moment after the goal, and then there was the final whistle. How are you feeling about the shithouse Sutton coming back, Alex?
To be honest, I'm that much about it because I think if we take the 3 instances in my mind, so I think the first one when Jack goes down injured, and for those on the audio, I'm very much doing air quotes here. I think that is smart. I don't love the play acting, but it's part of the game, as you say. Took the wind out of their sails. I've no fine, not injured in the slightest, but I think it takes the wind out of the sails. It pauses the restart. I don't. Yeah. Similarly, with the incident in stoppage time while the game's still going on, again, flare up. I don't love our players getting booked, but it runs the clock down a bit. It takes momentum out of your, again, part of the game. Maybe it's a skill that we need to learn and I would ideally like it if it wasn't part of the game overall, I think. But if everyone's going to do it, we need to be able to do it as well. Post game, probably one, because and it's tricky. It's easy to say from the stands, and they've been scrapping it out on the pitch, and obviously you want to give it back. I felt that it was slightly disappointing. There was a moment Simper came over to clap us after the full-time whistle, and he was the only one there for about 5 minutes because everyone else was scrapping. Again, ideally, I'd have liked them to be able to say, we don't want to fine for behaviour to lose money. You can talk to ref if you want. We're going to go and clap the fans. Possibly a bit naive because, as I say, they've been going at it for stoppage time, and it's easy for me to sit there as a fan. But yeah, as I say, struggling to care. Well, it was brilliant.
Yeah, I'm loving the wind up merchants. I know not everyone does, and I get that. But Neil, what's your view on it? There was one player I know who was taking a bit of stick. It wasn't Will, and during the little melee at the end was sort of thumping the Sutton United badge, and it was like, this is what a together club does. They do fight it out. I've had some people saying various different things, but most people that liked it said yes. But what do you think, Neil, about the dark tactics coming back?
Well, talk about Mr. King first of all, who I was impressed with for somebody who gets substituted and comes on in the 92nd minute, gets booked in the 95th minute, and then gets a straight red card for assaulting one of our coaching staff after the game. That is a very, very impressive performance. To all of that in about 6 minutes, you've got to applaud the guy.
Yeah.
And he is getting so much stick from the on the York forums because he's not a popular. He's not a particular, but they think he's a waste of money and basically hasn't done very much ever since he arrived. But he's surpassed himself in those 6 minutes.
Beautiful. But what about our guys? What do you think?
I don't like the shenanigans particularly much because we don't always come out of it very well. We pick up lots of cards and that ultimately have led to players sort of missing games and things like that. So I'd rather we didn't have to, but then sometimes you do have a little bit of admiration for exponents of the dark arts. And York have turned round and compared us with Stevenage. And then somebody then pointed out that Morrison used to play for Stevenage, so they've now believe that Steve Morrison has created the new Sutton in the image of Stevenage.
Alex, you had your hand up. Wow.
So I don't know if I'm supposed to put my hand up or not.
Zoom meetings.
Say something, sir. I just want to add to what I said about there because your point of club is a really good one. And whilst I might not love aspects of it, I'm love to see that to do all of this because some of them are on loan. They've obviously lots of them only come to the. I think there have been times in the season where I've thought, do you all really want this? Do you really love it? And then when you see those kind of scenes, whilst you may not be massive fans of it, it does. That's definitely a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, I was just going to say, you two are boring. I love it. I was just trying to encourage it when I had a Sunday team. I used to always start a friend against a team I knew would have a fight with us. Right, so post-match, I mean, loads of happy people. Very well deserved. I mean, a good crowd, 244, I think it was, that made the trip. Certainly could hear you at various times. So, and I think they had over 6,000 there. So that's very impressive. We are up to 10th, and I think we're just 3 points outside the playoffs. There's some games in hand to come into play, but I think the worst we can do is drop to 11th at the moment. I may have mentioned we're unbeaten since Christmas with 3 draws and 2 wins. I don't know if I brought that up at all. But the big post-match talking point is the meltdown of their chairman or owner or whatever he is. Now, Will, he's gone back to his old club. They released him. Got a payoff. I believe he bought himself a Gucci bag with that payoff. But he sort of said, good to go back. Thanks for the 3 points. That was it. I mean, I know some other players have jumped on.
Warm welcome.
Yeah, a warm welcome. That was it. Yeah. But the chairman's then banging on about he's swanning around like he's a 30 grand a week player and he's only earning 700. Which I mean, I don't know if you're allowed to release details of people's contracts even after they left you, so who knows? But what did you think of it, Alex? We'll start with you. What did you think of the chairman's take on the subject?
Yeah, boring again, Mike. Just sorry, head loss from him. It looked good on him, but I'm very keen that none of this on Twitter or whatever detracts from the performance of Will, the performance of the team. Wonderful away win. You know, I want that match to be remembered for how we. You know, some of it is funny afterwards, and it's hilarious that their chairman has had this head loss and decided to tweet negatively about Will when he's just won us the game at their ground. You know, that's objective. Keen that the focus is on how well we did and how we played. Sorry, a bit of a boring answer.
No, I do agree. It was a great game. That's why I brought this up last on the game, really. But yeah, it was just bizarre. I mean, let's be honest. Could we imagine Bruce doing that?
I hope we never see that.
I don't think Bruce would even say that in private. He'd just go, "Well done," and move on. Neil, what did you think of it all?
I couldn't believe it. A chairman of a football club should be responsible. They're the face. They're the face of the club sometimes, and there is a level of how you should behave. And he seemed to be more like a certain person in America that is apt to say something daft on Twitter or X or whatever. Yeah. So that sort of comparison, I think, says it all.
Yeah, there was one person saying, sort of urging him on, saying what you should do is put in an offer for Will that Sutton can't refuse and release him the next day. I'm like, that would spectacularly backfire, because we'd take the offer, you release Will, and he'd come back to us. So, yeah, do that. That's fine, no problem. But yeah, just very, very odd. But yeah, it's bringing back some of those feelings of those reactions of everyone just getting so angry that little old Sutton beat them, and we're like, oh, I like this. Because to be fair, we're in the league more recently than you. But anyway, I'm going to jump on and finish this off with the good, the bad, and the funny about the day. So here's the what's it. So Neil, we'll start with you. What was good about the day?
For the first time in all of my years of supporting Sutton, I was able to walk to a match, have a beer, and not have to worry about having a drink and driving home. So that was perfect. Because staying with friends, literally 20-minute walk up the road from the stadium. It was the perfect match day.
Oh, excellent. Alex, what was good for you?
Oh, what wasn't good? I mean, it's incredible. The low expectations versus feeling at the full-time whistle is obviously an easy one. I can go with how compact and organised and disciplined we were, because at times, as recently as Wednesday's game against Wealdstone, and it was suddenly there, and it was brilliant. Do it consistently, which I appreciate is a tricky ask, but if we start doing that, we'll have a good second half of the season.
Absolutely. What was bad for you, Alex?
Because there wasn't much bad. I think some of the play acting from both, but I'm going to flip it slightly and say that the bad bit is that you start to get hope of the playoffs when you play like this. And as the famous saying, kills you. And I worry that a nice coasting mid-table second half of the season if we keep playing like that, it's not going to happen. It's going to get nice and tense, but bring it on.
It's fine. We can get to the playoffs. We never do well in the playoffs. We're all right. We're fine.
Yeah, true.
Neil, what was bad for you?
Just York's attitude to to losing. I think they were bad losers, and they need a little bit more practice at it.
When do we play them again? They've never beaten us.
True.
Just remind them of that. They've never beaten us. And what was funny about the day for you, Neil?
Two things on that. It has to be Phil T's knees. He was wearing shorts in sub-zero temperatures, and his legs were blue. So we thought that he should stand behind the goal that York were attacking, and they would be so put off. There was no way they would score.
Okay.
And the second thing it has to be funny was the Yorkie mascot, who looked as if he had eaten far too many Yorkies and really needed to go on a bitter. He had really got a bit of a gut on him, and he really was. He was a very entertaining mascot. Gave Francis a nice cuddle, but I thought both Jenny and I thought he'd eaten far too many Yorkies for his own good.
Yeah, he did also when Jack had gone down after that heavy diabolical challenge that could have killed him. He then also dived onto the floor, which was quite funny. Alex, what was funny about the day for you?
Yes, so Phil's knees are a good shout. I had two. One of in the first half when Jack went down, the mascot rolling around behind him. That was funny. Sometimes if it's against your team, you've got to hold your hands up, and that was funny. Second one for me, we a couple of pubs before we had got the bus over to the ground, and on the bus we met the York youth, I suppose you'd call them, a bunch of teenagers. And actually they were chatting to us, and we were all agreeing that Sutton's prospects were quite slim. Ha ha. I've clearly had, I don't want to condone underage drinking, but he'd clearly had some. Ended up reproducing some of that on the bus, which was widely considered that would be a metaphor for Sutton's afternoon, and it turned out to be a metaphor for York.
Nice. Lovely. Okay, well, we're going to move on. 2 games coming up. I'm not overly fussed about the first one. I know some people like them, but I like my replay, so I don't like it. But Alex, first of all, what's your thoughts on the West Brom under-21 match, the National League trophy, which no one knows the format of the next round, how you qualify, or where the final might be, if indeed there is a final. What do you think of that, and what kind of lineup do you think we're going to put out?
I think more than anything, it's no injuries. That's my number one priority. I think, we'll rest. It's a good chance for some of the squad players or those coming back from injury to get some. I'd like to see evidence of the shooting improvements in training that I've referenced. The players who aren't named William Davies. But yeah, just crucially, whatever, and as many fit people for Saturday as possible.
Excellent. Neil, what's your thoughts on the West Brom game?
I agree with Alex. We'll see the players who haven't featured this weekend and the same culprits from the academy side. So possibly Vinny and Junior. Expect them to play, certainly. Yep. Jack Wadden will get a run out. And then Harry, the new guy, I think he'll probably start. That will give him a chance to get used to playing, get a full 90 minutes out of him and some shooting practice.
Perfect. And then on to the more important game, the Eastleigh game. I know it's a week away, but how are you feeling about the Eastleigh game? And I will look for a prediction of that one. Early prediction, obviously, same rules apply.
They deserve to be beaten because I think they robbed us of a win down at their place. And a prediction, I might even go a 2-0 on that one.
Ooh,
plus.
Excellent. Well, yeah, obviously. You still can put your entry in, don't worry. Alex, go on. What do you think of the Eastleigh game?
Yeah, big game. I think we went above them yesterday, didn't we? So show that we are, better than the teams around us and get a leg up on the competing for some of those playoff spots. So, and a good chance to build momentum because, being unbeaten, Mike, and the wins we've had in some of the cup competitions, but that was since 30th of November yesterday. So whilst we've been playing well, we haven't had a run of consecutive wins in the league for a long time. So it'd be a good chance to do that. As is my way, I'm going to double Neil's prediction and say 4-0 to the Mighty U's.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go 3-1. Just somewhere in the middle of those two.
Not 5-2.
No, I'm over that now. Because see, 5-2s against the big teams. The teams that we're expected to lose against. That's where I know we're going to turn up.
You're going to get some angry Eastleigh fans now.
Yeah, I had a couple of York City fans sort of saying, "Oh, that was a bold prediction," blah blah blah, and then one of them went, "Actually, you know what? The games I've watched, we've had 2-0s, 3-0s, and losses and stuff." So it wouldn't be out of character. I was like, "Oh, okay." None of them has actually come back to me yet. But yes, the leaderboard, Neil, I think you're 12 points above me when I last looked. So that sounds a lot, but it's 8 points a game. So
I only got a point yesterday. Literally,
yeah, I think I got.
Up,
I had Will to score, by the way. So
I went Ashley.
Yeah,
Will can't keep on scoring first.
Yeah, that's what we said about Josh for the first few weeks of the season as well. So, but do join in the prediction league. The code is out there somewhere, or just message me and I'll send it to you, or I will get my finger out and start reposting the little videos. But we are going to wrap up this episode of Sutton Podcast. As always, we appreciate your ear attention and feedback. Get involved in Knowing Me, Knowing You segment. What odd place have you managed to speak to someone about Sutton United? And follow, like, share on all socials at Sutton Podcast. Give us the thumbs up. Ego boosting. We are going to be back after the Eastleigh match, and we will have Mark and Joe. I've just sent out the email to everyone for the next batch of games as well. So get on that because I think there's only 5. As always, thank you to our sponsors, Lucky Star Gin. Big thank you to today's panel, Neil and Alex. And thank you to listeners. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Sutton Podcast. Take care, and we'll catch up soon. Bye-bye. United! 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 United!